What's going on, everybody? It is Overreaction Time. Once again, I'm your host, Simon Samano, and we are back. It feels so good to be back after an unexpected 3 weeks off. We had some circumstances come up, not the least of which is the fact that our boy Kamikaze was on assignment in Miami, doing a lot of good work. But here we are. We're back. ORT in the mix. And look who we got with us for the welcome back. It is none other than the OG of MMA Junkie Radio. It is Goze out in Las Vegas. Goze, what's up, my man? How are you?
Dude, I'm excited. This is my bi-monthly therapy session.
I like that. Bi-monthly therapy, huh? All right. Dude, let me just go ahead and get you nice and calm before the storm. It's about to hit you, all right? All right, guys. We got a lot to talk about. UFC on ESPN 66 this past week. A lot of other things to talk about, and we're going to jump right into it. You ready to go, Goze?
Let's do it.
All right, Kamikaze, you know what time it is. Hit it.
I mean, guys, what are you fucking? Is this tonight's stupid question night? Are you guys that fucking stupid? You can't be that fucking stupid. Who gives a shit? One of the dumbest things I've ever read in my life. Fucking common sense. Everybody knows that.
All right, Goze, here we go. Let's get started. Straight to the top of UFC on ESPN 66, otherwise known as UFC Kansas City, where Ian Machado Garry came in on short notice and defeated Carlos Praches in the main event. It was a unanimous decision after 5 rounds with 2 48-47 scores and a 49-46. Thought it was a pretty solid performance and I actually thought it was a really good performance for me and Machado Garry. And then after the fight, afterwards, Dana White said in the post-fight press conference that Ian Machado Garry is going to be the backup for the UFC 315 welterweight title fight in just under 2 weeks. The one between Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena. Man, I thought, like I said, Machado Garry had a hell of a performance. So I'm going to hit you with this right now, Goze. Regardless of what happens at UFC 315, Ian Machado Garry's next fight should be for the welterweight title.
Ooh, I'm going to say that's an overreaction, okay?
Boo.
There's so many players in all this, and we see how the UFC acts. It's a what have you done for me lately scenario all the time, right? So if you look at all the players, you look at Joaquin Buckley, right? You see Sean Brady, Shavkat. There's so many of these guys that could possibly do something phenomenal and just trump everything. There's injuries involved that could set things back. I think what Ian did was a calculated risk in taking this. You know, this is another weight cut for him. This is a lot of damage that he took in this fight, more so than in other fights. I would do it. You collect another paycheck. In my opinion, I think what he's doing is I think he knows he's going to wait a while because of everything that's kind of waiting in loom. So I think he just wanted to collect another paycheck and it'll make it a little easier because once all this plays out, it's going to be difficult to do that, man. Not saying the UFC wouldn't. They're crazy. They do a lot of things like that, but it would be really tough to overlook some of those other guys, especially if they can turn around and give you some crazy results like Joaquin Buckley. When he wins, it's pretty crazy, right? So I don't know, man. I'm gonna say overreaction on this one, but I feel where you're going because UFC really does like this kid.
Well, they do. And I mean, look, he just did them a big solid, right? They asked him to headline an event on 3 weeks notice, dude. 3 weeks notice. The UFC, now they reward guys when they do that, and they are rewarding him by making him the backup. I just think, though, that he has done enough now at this point to just leap to the very front by doing them that solid, by putting on a great performance, by taking that risk. You imagine if Ian Machado Garry lost this fight this past weekend? His stock would have tumbled so much. The 3 weeks, we really wouldn't have been giving him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he's number 7 in the rankings. He fights the number 13 guy. He's probably outside the top 10. So it was a hell of a risk, and it was a hell of a performance. I mean, this is a guy who was 15-0 up until he had a hard-fought loss against Shavkat. Now, it's supposed to be Shavkat next, right? But that's the thing. We don't know when Shavkat's going to come back. And if Belal Muhammad is ready to fight again, let's just say in 4 to 6 months, after UFC 315, or if it's Jack Della Maddalena, all right.
That's the other.
To me, that's Ian Machado's fight. I mean, I understand that if JDM wins, they might go to Islam Makhachev, right? Because that's obviously in play. But dude, I think it should be Ian Machado Garry's fight at this point.
Oh, here's the other thing. we got to look at his performance. I thought it was a good performance. And I think what that performance showed us is that he is worthy of fighting for a belt. He has that skill set. He's
100%.
great behind the mic. He does deserve to get to that. But I think what the performance also showed us was there's still a few holes that he's got to fix, right, in his game. Even going back to the last fight, there's a couple things like that fight could have been finished. I think when Pratis goes back and watches that, he's going to go, man, I had that guy. I could have actually finished him.
He had him in danger.
Now,
He had him in trouble.
Here's where Ian is very intelligent in my mind. He plays with house money. Had he lost that fight, you just turn around and you say, look, man, who else is taking short notice fights like this? Who else is risking everything? Come back, no matter who they match you up against, he's going to be able to build the fight with the mic skills, and we're all going to be interested again. I like this kid. I think he can make a lot of bold moves. I just don't think they can put him in next. It would really take a lot. I don't know. The guys behind him, the thing is, they're not very vocal. They don't really get on the mic and say very much, so they could get stepped on if Ian is vocal enough. But I don't see it happening. I think it's an overreaction.
All right, man. Well, listen, one thing I find interesting about Ian Machado Garry is that there seems to be a lot of hate, a lot of not wanting to give this guy his flowers and his credit.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, man. I mean, this guy, I think part of it, honestly, Goze, I think part of it is his still somewhat lingering attachment to Conor McGregor. Where they used to be teammates, they've trained together, but that was years ago. To me, he's so far removed from Conor McGregor. He is his own guy. And whereas he doesn't have the mystique and the aura that Conor had on his come up, this guy is just a solid, all around, highly skilled mixed martial artist, And yeah, man, I mean, dude, there's nothing to hate in that regard. He just did a solid, not just for the UFC, he did a solid for the fans. It was a hell of a performance. Respect on Ian Machado Garry's name. This guy is rebounding in a big way after that loss to Shavkat. I think he should get the next title shot. But you disagree. Yeah. It's all good.
I hear where you're coming from. And these performances that he's putting on, they're under some of the worst conditions you can think of, right? A lot of fighters don't like to fight under those conditions. And he's holding it together. So they got something. They're losing stars every day, but they're creating a new one with this kid.
Yeah, they are. All right, man. Let's move on to the next topic that I want to talk about, also from UFC on ESPN 66. In the co-main event, it was a retirement fight in the co-main event for Anthony Smith, who got absolutely obliterated by Zhang Mingyang in the first round. It was a TKO finish. They said it was by punches, Goze. But if you watch the fight, there was a whole bunch of illegal strikes to the back of the head. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm going with this next overreaction, Goze. Let me hit you with this. Just make strikes to the back of the head legal already. They never call them. They never call it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go
crazy. I know, but they just don't call. They're never enforced.
I'm gonna go overreaction, and I do understand where you're coming from. It's very frustrating. In a workplace, if you show up to work every day and the rules don't apply across the board, if some guys are getting in trouble for showing up late and then others aren't, you're gonna get frustrated. And there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of things on the line when you look at these fights for Anthony Smith. This is his last hurrah, but that situation there, he did take a few. Well, George and I were talking about this last night.
No, Goze. No. Hold on. Not a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You got all of them? I thought it
8
was
elbows to the back of the head that I counted. 8.
Mm-hmm. See, the problem is this, though. If you do make it legal, that 12-6 to the back of the head, especially right where that spine, now you're asking for a lot of trouble, right? If somebody turtles up or whatever, that would be absolutely brutal. Now, would guys react? Would they sit in that same situation knowing that? Probably not. They'd probably move a lot quicker. But to make it legal, oof.
So my just make it legal is a little tongue in cheek. I'm being a little facetious there. I'm just saying, dude, it's really frustrating watching a fight and seeing that happen, and it never gets called. It never gets called. I just don't understand why that never gets called.
It never gets called because they're not consistent with what they do. The problem is the second you start calling it, okay, and we go back-to-back cards where that happens, and fighters lose points, and it starts to affect the fight. Trust me, fighters are going to stop doing it. They don't want to get stuck in that situation. The problem is they kind of know they can get away with it, right? Yes, I get there's heat of the moment, but you know what? You get warned in the back, which I don't even understand why they do that because it doesn't even matter. Once you get to
Right.
the fight, they're still gonna let you do it, and even then, when you do it, they kind of go, don't do that again. But by then, the guy's already taken the blow. It's already affected him. Well, like, what can you possibly do at that point? You have to be more consistent. I think if they slam their foot on the break and started to deduct points a little bit more, even the fence grabs, all that stuff, you need to be more consistent for people to listen. Otherwise, people are just going to keep doing the same stuff over and over because they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, I'm just tired of watching a fight with an ending the way we just saw between Zhang Mingyang and Anthony Smith, and thinking to myself, and I'm yelling at the screen, illegal strike, back of the head, back of the head, back of the head. Oh, the fight's over? What? Like,
No.
Dude, if you're gonna have a rule, enforce the damn rule. That's all I'm saying. But I was a little facetious. It was an overreaction. They shouldn't make them. I'll tell you, they shouldn't make them legal. I'm just frustrated that they never call them. It's dumb. It's dumb, dude.
It's unfair. It's unfair.
Completely unfair. 100%. All right, man. Let's move on to the next topic. Next topic I want to talk about here is UFC 318. UFC 318 is happening in July, I believe. It is happening in July. Let me look that up for you real fast. UFC 318 is happening in July. It is going to be the retirement fight for Dustin Poirier. He's going to take on Max Holloway in a trilogy. These guys have fought twice before. It was Max's UFC debut years back. I forget. Don't quote me on the year, but it was Max's UFC debut. And then several years later, they did fight for an interim lightweight title. Now they'll do it again for a third time, and this time it is Dustin Poirier's send-off. And let me just go ahead and hit you with this one right here, Goze. I love everything about Max Holloway being Dustin Poirier's retirement fight.
You love everything about it. Okay.
Everything about it.
I don't think it's an overreaction because at the end of the day, when you put those two in a cage, who is not going to have popcorn in their hand and a beer and want to watch that? It's great. When people say it's a trilogy, it is the third fight, but one guy beat the other guy twice. So there's not really much that we have to gain from this. But I think because we know it's Dustin Poirier's last fight and we're going in with those expectations, the rules kind of don't apply here. It's just one of those situations where maybe you tell the fans, shut up and just have a good time. It's a fight. Sit back, watch two guys beat the crap out of each other in this guy's hometown, and leave rankings out of it, leave who could have possibly been. I'm okay with it. You know what I would have liked though, Simon?
Okay with it? You're only okay with it?
I'm only okay with it because of this. Just because we've seen it before and it's his last fight, I would have liked something a little bit more special. I would have liked something outside of the box. Maybe, and this is a guy that I constantly don't want to hear from, but in this particular case, if he could have made it happen, I thought the Nate Diaz fight would have been fun.
Okay, I would have been cool with that.
It would have been fresh, and it would have kind of maybe given him a little bit more push. He's fighting a guy for a third time, but I'm good with this. This is going to be really exciting. The fight's going to be fun. There's nothing bad about it. And you saw what happened with Anthony Smith, his walkout. Man, I felt like I was covering the sport for the last time. I had a tear in my eyes. I can't imagine a guy like Dustin Poirier, what he's meant to our sport, his community, to be able to do it at home. You'd have to be a pretty pissy fan to be complaining about this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll agree with you. I would have been the Nate Diaz idea would have been great, especially since we were supposed to see that fight several years back. It was close, it never happened, it fell apart. That would have been awesome. It probably, and I'm sure Dustin would have taken that if that was, because he was going to be very selective about who he was going to fight here, right? It had to be a fight that meant something to him, It had to mean something to him, and I love what I say. I love everything about this. Goes, first of all, I love that the UFC has given Dustin his flowers in this way by having him in a retirement fight in his hometown, New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, you don't get that very often, dude. Like that hardly ever happens. The fact that the UFC would do that for one of its real good guys, who has been nothing but a company man, one of the good guys of our sport. Hats off to the UFC for actually making this happen.
That's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be, man. It really should be. I wish more legends would get a send-off like this, the way Dustin is. The fact that it's Max, I really love, because here's the thing. It's going to be an entertaining fight. So off the top, you already know that. I mean, you already have Dustin Poirier telling Mike Bond in his interview, quote, in true knucklehead fashion, I'm going to stand in the middle and trade with Max, and we're going to bleed and put on a show for the last one. So you already know fireworks are coming your way, man. I mean, it's going to be mano y mano, dude. It's going to be awesome. You know,
if he points to the bottom of that cage, I question. The thing about Dustin Poirier is he'll do anything, man, in the right moment. And you know Max Holloway's going to do it. When he does it, do they go at it, him knowing that's his last fight? That moment, the 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever the hell it is, we are all going to be on the edge of our seats.
They should do it at the end of every round.
They should, right? Yeah.
But then the other thing I love about this is that it's for the BMF. BMF is a symbolic championship. You know, it is a symbolic championship. Two bad motherfuckers in this promotion in the UFC for all these years. Two of them have been Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. So the BMF to me, it means something in this fight. Like it actually has meaning for these two guys, right?
You know what? I'm not the best businessman in the world, but I'll tell you one thing: in that fight, you want to be that sponsor that's in the center of the cage. You're gonna get pointed at probably 5 times.
Yeah, it's true. So I love the BMF aspect of it. And then listen, dude, from the actual competitive part of this, I love that Max is getting a third shot at Dustin because it would be a big win for Max if he can get this win, if he can get this dub. He's not fared well against Dustin Poirier in 2 previous fights in the interim lightweight title fight, which was Max's first foray into lightweight. I mean, he got smashed, dude. So Max comes into this fight with a lot to prove. Redemption, number 1, but number 2, a win like this would make him an immediate title contender at 155 pounds. So that's why, man, like it's a bonanza of love. I love this entire fight. I love everything about it.
He's got a big chip on his shoulder, man. And honestly, I think you can sort of play on the emotions. The fact that you know it's Dustin's last fight, I think you could probably get him to engage in certain situations where maybe he wouldn't have before when he's a guy that's trying to fight for a title shot. I think you can get him out of his comfort zone. I think Max can play a few head games in this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I can't wait. All right, man. Let's move on to the next topic, all right? And as Kamikaze and the viewers who watch this show know, my favorite topic, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, all right? The latest update between Jon Jones, the fight that we all want to see, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight title, undisputed heavyweight title. We got the latest update from Dana White this past Saturday after at the UFC on ESPN 66 post-fight news conference. He was asked a few questions by the Mac Life's Oscar Willis. I want you guys to go ahead and take a look at this. Kamikaze, go ahead and roll the footage.
The other big one is obviously Jon versus Tom Aspinall. This week was a funny one. Someone reported that the fight's done, it's got a date. Then the next day someone reported the fight's off, and then Jon's not taking it. Where do we stand with that fight?
Everything you hear is bullshit until we say it.
So that fight is still the target for both men?
I've said it many times that's the fight that we want to make this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, you said you were super confident. It's definitely going to happen. Are you still super confident?
Still super confident.
Cool.
All right, man. There you have it from the boss. The latest update from Jones versus Aspinall is, hey, if you don't hear it from the UFC, it's bullshit. And he is super confident that the fight is still going to happen. Well, let me tell you what I'm super confident about here. Goze, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Dana White doesn't know if Jon Jones will fight Tom Aspinall any more than we do.
That is not an overreaction. I almost can guarantee you that is correct. And I think every time people ask him about it, if you notice, the first thing he does is this, which is a sign of somebody very nervous. And I'm with you. I don't think he knows. I don't like his comment about unless you hear it from us, it's bullshit. Okay, maybe if you're talking about reporters, maybe reporters get it wrong. I get that. But your own fighter's confused. He doesn't know what's going on, right? Does he not know what's going on? If he's part of the equation, he's got to have some intel, right? He's tripping. I don't understand the situation. This doesn't happen in other sports. We're sitting here waiting forever for this fight to happen. You think Shedeur Sanders sitting there waiting for a phone call is uncomfortable? You know how long we've been waiting for a phone call to figure out when this is going to happen? Like, this just doesn't happen in other sports. I wish they would just be more direct with what the hell is going on. because when you have supposedly the greatest fighter of all time sitting on the shelf, and you have the next guy waiting, the next big thing, and he's sitting on the shelf, it's a very frustrating thing when you love your sport and you want to cover it.
Yeah, you know the deal. You know the deal here goes, and it's pretty simple at this point, man. The UFC has no control over what Jon Jones is going to do. The ball is completely in Jon Jones's court, right? I mean, that's what it is. I think Dana is in a position that he's not used to being in. You know, he's hoping and praying and begging that this fight will happen. You know, it's all on Jon Jones. This fight's gonna happen only if Jon Jones wants it to happen. And I think where the UFC and maybe even Dana White messed up, you go back to December, okay? Back to December in the UFC Tampa post-fight news conference when our own Danny Segura asked at that point what was the latest, what was the update about the Jon Jones Tom Aspinall fight, and what was the word that Dana White used? He guaranteed it. Guaranteed that it would happen. I'm sure Jon Jones saw that and was like, pump the brakes. What? You guarantee it's going to happen? I'm not sure I want this fight to happen unless you guys give me what I want. And even then, I'm not sure I want to go out with a fight against Tom Aspinall because he hasn't really given Tom Aspinall like the credit that he deserves as a guy who's even worthy of fighting him, right? Of course, the funny thing is that as we wait and wait and wait, Tom Aspinall's name is building and building and building, and this fight is building and building. And I mean, yeah, man, like the UFC just has no idea what Jon wants to do. It's totally in his court, and they're just not used to it. Dana's not used to it.
You know, it was kind of a rookie mistake, in my opinion, that he did that. He put the ball in Jon's court. The second he said that, he gave him so much negotiating power that why would you do that? Now you're guaranteeing something, and you're coming off the heels of not giving us Francis Ngannou, who everybody wanted to see that fight. And now, if you're Jon Jones, you're thinking, all right, he already didn't deliver. And now he's putting it in my hands. I'm going to make this guy pay me. I'm going to make him give me the amount of money I want. I want it to be when I want it, where I want it. And the UFC's not used to fighters dictating those types of things. Now, I'm sure they're, you know, if you hear Tom Aspinall, he's had a couple things going on here and there. But still, this whole situation is because I think Dana White came out and was so confident in the way he said it. And he's still doing that today. He's still saying it's going to happen. And I actually do think, I at one point thought it wouldn't happen. I think it is going to happen, but it's going to hurt. It's going to cost them a lot. And it's probably not going to happen when they want it. It's not going to be the situations that the UFC wants. But he dug his own grave on this one.
Man, let me ask you a question here, Goze, before we move on. Will this fight happen before the end of the year?
I'm going to say no. The most ridiculous part about all this, ridiculous part about all this is even if today they play this clip and they laugh at us and they go, look, it's done. You still have to count on Jon Jones, who doesn't always make it to fights, right?
Not getting injured, not screwing up, not getting arrested.
Like we can't even, it's not like we can put our heads on our pillow and go, yeah, this fight's done. It's going to happen. Now we have to sweat all the normal stuff we have to sweat in big fights. So I'm one of those guys where, you know, just send me a text location. Let me know a couple days before and I'll be there.
Oh, man. We'll see what happens, dude. I hate it. I hate it.
Frustrating, right?
Super frustrating, man. Speaking of frustrating, that's a great segue into my next topic here. My next overreaction goes, all right? And that has to do with UFC 317 and International Fight Week, all right? Because what's today? It's almost May. The calendar is about to turn to May, right? This week. It's late April. We're turning to May later this week. And we still don't have a main event or any of the major fights at the top of that card. International Fight Week is on June 28th, UFC 317 in Las Vegas. Always supposed to be a big deal. Always supposed to be huge. In the clip that we had just played from Oscar Willis, he before that had asked about the other fights, because as far as I'm concerned goes, we've got 3 big fights that we want to see in the UFC. And you know what they are. It's DDP Khamzat Chimaev for the middleweight title. It's Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. And of course, we just talked about Jones Aspinall. Well, in that interview segment during the press conference from Oscar, Dana told us that Khamzat and DDP is not going to happen at International Fight Week. We just talked about Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. That ain't going to happen at International Fight Week. And he played it a little coy and cool when he was asked about Ilya and Islam Makhachev happening at International Fight Week. I'm so incredibly frustrated, dude. And I'm just going to hit you with this, Goze. React however you want. We are on the verge of International Fight Week being a complete letdown.
That's not an overreaction, because the same
How
way we were
are
talking
we
about
not going
Jon
to get either
Jones.
one of those 3 fights? How are we not going to get one of those fights on International Fight Week?
Yeah. So the same way we're talking about Jon Jones having a lot of leverage, the fact that those 2 other fights are gone, now those 2 guys have a lot of leverage. Who knows what they're asking for? And I don't know that there's very much outside of that box that you can put in there that would make us feel like we're getting the same value. Remember, these ticket prices now in Las Vegas are out of this world. Okay. There's fans that want to book plane travel. They want to do all this stuff ahead of time. These are the hardcore fans that plan their whole weekend around being here and going to the conventions and being around town for all this stuff. If you're going to want them to do that, you better give them reason soon, because nobody likes to have money just sitting around there. They'll go do something else, right? This is this situation. I personally think it'll be Islam and Topuria, just because they have no other choice. It would be shocking if they went any other route. But yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction at all.
I mean, if they don't give us that's it. That's the last saving grace to at least make International Fight Week what maybe it used to be. Because look, we haven't had an International Fight Week main event that was really like top of the line since 2021. That was the Connor Dustin trilogy fight. All right, at UFC 264, I believe. But since then, 2022 was Adesanya versus Cannonier at 276. Then it was Volk versus Rodriguez at UFC 290. And last year, it was Pereira versus Prohaska at UFC 303. Here's the thing. The fights that we've heard rumblings about right now are Pantoja, Kai Kara France. But that seems to be like it would be a co-main event on an International Fight Week. Please don't make it a main event. Please tell me that doesn't happen by default, because the other fight that's being talked about perhaps as maybe happening that week would be the rematch between Ankalaev and Pereira. So Pereira would, save International Fight Week again, just like he saved it last year. And all due respect to Alex and Ankalaev, but man, we were supposed to get one of those other 3 fights on International Fight Week, dude.
It's not good enough. And you know what? Coming off the heels of WrestleMania being here in a stadium, and the way they gave the middle finger to the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and they did their thing, and they absolutely took over the city. Okay. This is kind of like our WrestleMania every year, right? It's our big card.
It's supposed to be.
You got to do something to at least kind of show, hey, man, we're big too. We're here. You put Ankalaev and Pereira, okay, but it's not what we're all expecting. It's gonna be a letdown.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a letdown compared to what we're supposed to get. I'm so frustrated with where we are right now, with the UFC not delivering on big fights for one reason or another. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. All right, dude. We got one last topic we're going to talk about here, Goze. And that is another big fight that was booked this past week, just a couple days ago, and that was UFC Atlanta, UFC Fight Night 257, otherwise known as UFC Atlanta, which is happening in June 14th, I believe. It's going to be, let me see here, June 14th. That's correct. It's going to be Kamaru Usman, former welterweight champion. He's going to be fighting Joaquin Buckley. Now, that this is a fight that Buckley has been calling for. It was one that he turned his attention to after he beat Colby Covington back in December. And so he's going to get it. Big fight. It's Kamaru Usman coming back after almost a couple years off. I'm going to go and hit you with this one right here, Goze.
Okay.
Joaquin Buckley won't just beat Kamaru Usman. He'll make it look easy.
Ooh, that's not an overreaction.
Let's go.
I don't think that's an overreaction at all. For one, people don't give Buckley the credit that he deserves. This dude, when you look at his skill set across the board, he's done some tremendous things. He is a nightmare. There's a reason why people don't want to fight him. When you look at Kamaru Usman, there are a lot of people right now that are saying Usman is on the other side now. He's behind a mic and fights part-time. It's not the other way around. And when your head's not in the game for that long, when you're not being pushed, it's difficult to come back, not just to come back, but come back at a high level. And a
Yep.
high level is everything that Joaquin Buckley is going to present to you. This is a super, super tough fight. And I don't know that Kamaru Usman is in the right frame of mind for a fight like this. I don't know that his body is where it needs to be. This is not the fight that I was expecting him to take after taking this much time off. This is about as tough as it can get. I give him props for taking it.
I do
I
too.
give the UFC props for putting it together. But boy, this is a recipe for disaster if Kamaru Usman is not coming in here 100% prepared.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Usman, all due respect to you, man, one of the greatest welterweights of all time. But when this fight takes place, he's going to be 38 years old. He turns 38 in a couple weeks here.
Mhm.
It's been almost 2 years since he last fought, which was an admirable performance against Khamzat Chimaev back in October of 2023 at middleweight. He took that on short notice as well. But, dude, the way he's been talking about his body and his injuries and his knees being shot, I just don't see a path to victory against Buckley, who is explosive, quick, light on his feet, athletic. Like, dude, he's going to be a problem for Usman, man. And you saw what he did against Colby Covington? The way he dismantled him?
Yeah.
I could see something worse happening to Kamaru, dude, coming up in June.
All the check marks are in Buckley's favor right now. This is such a high mountain for Kamaru Usman to climb. Look, if there's anybody that can do it, it would be a guy like Kamaru Usman. Like, he doesn't really go into fights where you go, that guy didn't give you 100%. He was joking around, not taking this fight seriously. He gives you a serious camp. It's just, can the body deliver at this age with this wear and tear against a young, hungry, up-and-coming fighter who is another guy that gets talked about possibly getting a title match. And look, if he does something spectacular against Kamaru Usman, because Buckley doesn't really win boring decisions, this could put him in a really big situation. So expect an absolute tornado on the other side of you. Kamaru Usman, I love you to death. I hope this is a good fight, but boy, is it scary.
It is. It absolutely is scary, man. Man, all right. All right, Goze. Well, the time for overreacting has come to an end. Before we sign off, though, I do want to give a shout out and a dedication to my good friend since junior high school, Alfredo Arizon, who passed away unexpectedly earlier this month at the age of 43. He was my good friend. He was an incredibly special person. He was larger than life. He was charismatic. Just would make any room laugh. The Lord has a way of taking away the good ones early. And in the case of Alfie is one of one. And so just want to say I love you, my friend. And you rest in peace, rest in paradise. And I will see you on the other side. Goze, that's the show for the week, man. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
I got a lot of things off my chest. This is my therapy session.
Therapy was good?
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Well, everybody, I appreciate you guys watching this long. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to get back into the mix with ORT. Apologies for the unexpected 3-week delay, but we are back, coming back every week. Please, I will see you on the next episode of ORT. Kamikaze, Dana, take it away.
MMA Junkie AI.